Welcome to JazzTime. JazzTime.com is an online store that buys, sells, trades authentic luxury watches. We make these videos so our customers can easily choose the best watch for themselves in the comfort of their own home. If you like this watch, click on the link in the description below to buy it at the lowest price anywhere online. Today, I'm going to be reviewing the Rolex Sky-Dweller Rose Gold, reference 336935, with a blue dial. I'm going to talk to you about the bezel, the dial, the case, the bracelet, the movement, give you a little history and try it on, give you my thoughts. So let's start. This is the Rolex Sky-Dweller. Now it's 42 millimeters from my thumb to my index finger, which is the 4 o'clock to the 2 o'clock position, the longest distance across the bezel of the watch, or across the case of the watch. It's 42 millimeters. In fact, this is the largest dress watch that Rolex makes. Now you might even call this a Datejust 42, because the Datejust is in size 28, 31, 36, 41, and this one almost looks like an extension of the Rolex Datejust. The only difference is that it has a little bit more complication, which makes sense because it's also 1 millimeter bigger, and if I turn it on its side, you can see the side profile. The side profile shows that it's also a little bit thicker, and it's around, I would say, about 13 millimeters, so an extra millimeter in height, profile, as well as in diameter. And for the extra millimeter, Rolex was able to put in some extra complications, which we'll go through in a bit. Now the case itself is rose gold. In fact, the entire watch is rose gold, and the case is using the exact same case as the Rolex Datejust. It's just larger. It's a monoblock middle case with a screw-down case back and winding crown, which is your standard Rolex Oyster case. Nothing particular about that. I might mention to you that the Datejusts are not actually made in any precious metals. They only do half steel and half gold, but the Sky-Dweller, probably because it's the flagship, they make it both in steel, and gold, as well as precious metal, which in this case is rose gold. Now they have rose gold, white gold, yellow gold, and they make a variety of different bracelets that go with it. This one happens to be on an oyster bracelet. Okay. And what I can tell you about the case is that it pretty much just looks the same as a Datejust. And what kind of person? Or why would you want to buy this one? Well, let's just say that you like the Datejust because the Datejust is an iconic watch of Rolex, but you want to have the king of the heap. You want to have the best Datejust, a Datejust that is above all other Datejusts. Well, you have to go with the Sky-Dweller because that is the top. There's nothing higher than the sky. There's no Universe Dweller, it's only Sky-Dweller, and it's a great name. I think Rolex was very smart not to call it a Datejust 42, and instead call it the Sky-Dweller. Sky denotes something very, very high, nothing much higher than the sky, and dweller means something hanging out, so hanging out somewhere in the sky. And I think it's a great name for a great-looking watch. Okay. So let's talk about the bezel here. Now, this is a very interesting bezel. The bezel is the fluted bezel. They only make Sky-Dwellers with fluted bezels. They don't make them with any diamond bezel or dome bezel, just fluted bezel. And rightfully so, because the fluted bezel is the most iconic watch that Rolex makes. With this bezel, it's unmistakably Rolex. In fact, the bezel used to have a functional purpose to help keep the watch watertight. But over time, Rolex has figured out how to make it watertight without having to use the bezel to screw it on. So it's become an aesthetic point now. Okay, but what else is very cool about this bezel? It's the only bezel that turns. Now I think there used to be another bezel that had a fluted bezel. It was called the turnograph, but it was really not that great and it got discontinued pretty quickly. So this one, it has a bi-directional rotatable Rolex ring command, and now what is that? It just means that in order to set this watch, set the calendar because there's actually also an annual calendar, which I'll tell you about in a moment. The way that you set it is by using the command ring, so you can turn it and you cannot actually tell when you turn it what position it's in, because all the fluting looks the same. It's a really ingenious system. And I'm not surprised that Rolex figured out how to use the bezel as a command ring to change the months of year. And I think it's ingenious, actually. If you look at other brands, such as, for example, Patek Philippe, on their annual calendars, even their watches that you have a date on it, you have to get literally a pusher and use that to change the date. I think that's kind of retarded, to be honest. You're paying $50,000 plus for a watch, and then you have to go get a pusher to change the date. That's lame. But in Rolex's case, which I'm not surprised, they figured out how to put it all in one watch without any tools whatsoever, and they just make the perfect practical package. If you can call a $50,000 retail watch practical, then yes. But by the way, this watch, I have to also tell you, it is selling above retail probably because of this blue dial, and it's impossible to get in the stores. However, if you click on the link in the description below, you could buy it at jazztime.com, which is why I'm making this video, by the way, so that you'll watch this video and buy our watch, not someone else's, okay? Alright, so that's the bezel. Now let's move on to the dial. I just told you a few minutes ago that this is a blue dial, and as you can see it obviously here. Now what makes it so special other than blue dial? Nothing. That's what makes it special. Blue dial. Rolex made the Sky-Dweller in rose gold on rhodium, which is like a gray. They made it white and they made it chocolate. They've been making that for a very long time, years and years. I want to say 5, 7 years, something like that, or actually probably even longer. But they've been making it for a long time like that. And when did they release this blue dial? This year, April 23, and for obvious reasons, blue has always been a smash hit. And they also released green, but not in rose gold. So anytime you release a funky color like this, it just really makes the watch pop. And it's a massive hit, and it's actually selling quite a bit above retail. At least as of the moment, it's selling around 70,000, so that might come down later. Who knows? But yeah, as you can see, it makes the dial look very special. And I think blue with rose gold really makes the watch pop more than any other color. What else I can say about the dial? It has your typical Rolex sunray finish, which means they use a special way to make the dial so that it looks different in different lights. Okay, it's pretty standard among Rolex, but what else I want to say about this dial is that, let's look at a few things. There's a fixed inverted red triangle right underneath the word Rolex, and that allows you to tell what the 24-hour time is in a second time zone, or it could even be in your home time zone. Let's say you're here in America, and you could use this center ring as telling the time here, and you could use the outside, the 3 hands, but telling the time in Europe or Asia or wherever, or vice versa. You could use the 3 hands to tell the time in America, and then you could use the GMT circular hand with this red inverted triangle to tell the time somewhere else. So it's pretty cool, because a lot of times we work here in America, but we may be doing business in Asia, wherever, Europe, etc., and we want to know the time zone over there, so it just makes it easy. You can look at it off your watch, so it's actually a pretty useful feature. Sometimes we have loved ones over there or somewhere else. You want to know what time it is so you don't call them at a funky time. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Now what else is cool? Look at these hour markers. They are index. Now these index markers, Rolex was making the Sky-Dweller when it first came out on a Roman dial, and the Roman dial just really honestly sucked. It was really hard to read. It looked totally cluttered, and basically Rolex felt the same way, and they discontinued it. And when I saw it, I thought, how can you read this thing? It's completely cluttered. The dial is already super complicated, and then you add this Roman dial, it just ruined it. And rightfully so. Rolex got rid of it, and the Romans are of no more. They simplified it and put these index, and also I can tell you what else is good about index is that you can see it at night. So let me shine this flashlight at it, and you'll see that the hour markers really light up at night, which allows you to read the watch at night. Believe it or not, it's a very practical application, because a lot of times we wear these watches. Where do we go? We go to a fancy dinner, we go to a party, X, Y, Z place or whatever. Sometimes we don't carry a phone and you need to tell what time it is, and you can't do that if you don't have luminescent on the hour markers. So that's a nice thing. Now back to what the dial actually displays. So every hour marker represents a month. So the 12 is December, 1 is January, 2 is February, 3 is March, so on and so forth. And this little hole here, when the red dot is on that hour marker, it signifies the month it is. Okay, I think that's pretty cool. It tells you, not that you don't know what month it is, but why is that cool? It's because you don't have to change the date 1 through 31, because the watch will have it programmed into it already, and it will know, okay, if I'm on March, then I don't know how many days are in March, 31, 30, whatever. And it will know how many days to move so that you only have to reset it on February 28th or 29th, whichever one of those days it happens to be. So you only have to reset it literally one time per year. That's pretty cool, right? So yeah, it's pretty cool. Okay, so that's what it does. Okay, let's move on to the bracelet. Let's see, the bracelet on the rose gold only comes on either the Oysterflex, which is a rubber bracelet, but they actually don't make the blue dial on Oysterflex. They only make the blue dial on this rose gold bracelet, Oyster Band, so it's made on Oyster Band, as you can see it here. And I think it looks pretty awesome. What it does is it makes the watch look a little bit sporty, because if you put it on a Jubilee, it looks very dressy. And I think this is just a great way to put the watch, and it's a fantastic combination. If you ask me, okay. Now, strangely enough, I don't know why Rolex doesn't make the Sky-Dweller with a blue dial on an Oysterflex. Maybe they're saving that for next year or something. It's going to be probably like a smash hit, I don't know. Who knows? But at least as of 23, they're only making it on the Oyster bracelet. Okay. Alright, that's the bracelet. And let's move on to the movement here. The movement is what makes this watch different. Rolex made some twerks to it. The caliber is 9002, and it's precise to ±2 seconds a day and has a power reserve of 72 hours. And I believe the power reserve is up and it's more precise. Now, what is exactly different about the movement? To be honest, it doesn't really matter. The old movement was good. The new movement is better. Both movements are good. The old movement, I believe, was caliber 9001. This is 9002. What exactly is different? I don't know, and you probably don't. And you probably don't care either because you can't see it anyways. It's hidden with this case back, so it doesn't really matter. Let's just put it this way. The movement is really good. Alright, so that brings us to the trying on portion. Oh wait, the history. Okay, the Sky-Dweller has been out for, I want to say, approximately 10 years. And when it came out, it was of course a big hit. It still is a big hit, and as I said, it's an extension of the Datejust 2 model. It's very similar, almost the same actually, with just a little bit of different complication and a bit larger. So it's natural that it follows the Datejust 41, but Rolex is definitely going to continue on with this line and they're going to invest heavily in it, promote it, and do very well because it's got a great name, it looks great, and it looks a little bit more complicated. The Datejust is very basic. It's got 3 hands and a date, time and date. Nothing really that special about it in terms of complication. Now Sky-Dweller brings it to another level by making an annual calendar and a GMT. In fact, it's Rolex's most complicated watch. So yeah, it's a big deal. Okay, and so let's talk about my thoughts. Well, my thoughts are if you want to have a Datejust and you don't want just any Datejust, you want a precious metal Datejust, well, you have to go with the Rolex Sky-Dweller, and you really can't go wrong with it. It's a very top watch. It'll hold its value incredibly well. It looks beautiful, but I have to say it is for those people with a larger wrist. So you probably need to be a 7-inch wrist or larger, and that usually equates to a person at least 150 pounds. At least I would probably say comfortably more like 160, 170 at least, okay? It still looks really awesome. I think it's just a great watch. Now as far as the color, I have to say this blue, it's the best. For the rose gold Sky-Dweller, it's the best, and the market also feels the same way because the market value on this is the highest of any Sky-Dweller, and it makes sense, rightfully so. It's a beautiful combination, it's rare, and to get this watch at an AD, it's probably near impossible unless you have spent hundreds of thousands at the Rolex AD, and even then it still might be difficult, so that's why it's selling above list price. And if you want to buy it, you can buy it at jazztime.com, and that would be it. Yeah, thanks.
If you want to find out more about the watch you just saw in the video, you can just click below on Show More to see the full description. Then you can check the link next to Model as seen in video, click on it and you will get to the proper page where you can see all the details. If you're watching on a mobile phone, you have to click on the arrow down on the right hand side below the video to see the full description. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you would like to share this video with your friends, you can use the share button below and share it on any platform you like. If you have questions, constructive feedback, want to tell us about some mistakes or misspeaks, just write a comment below. If you want to see more videos like this, you should subscribe to our channel and visit our channel page where you can find all the videos. And if you're interested in a specific watch brand, you can check out our playlists. If you want to check the price for a watch or want to buy one, remember at jazztime.com you always get a steep discount, so you should check the prices with us. If you want to know the price for a specific watch, just go to Google, type in JazzTime, plus the brand, model and the details you're interested in, and Google will find the right page for you. Thank you for watching.